Greetings. It is June the 4th, and it is a beautiful 80 degrees in Pennsylvania. My name is Duke. Thank you for joining us on the Duke and Dutch Show. How you doing today, Dutch?
I'm doing pretty well. Doing pretty well. Last day of school for my daughter. I might get dragged to the Lilo and
Nice.
Stitch movie again later on. But before all that, we have a lot of news to get into. We got some drama going on with California Representative Maxine Waters,
Mm,
who has been busted for misusing or misappropriating campaign financing uh, in the amount of a few $1,000s. Although I would think it's a lot more with all these Democrats.
shocking. Dare I say shocking?
We have Greta Thunberg, who is going to break the siege in Israel by chartering a boat with Game of Thrones star Liam Cunningham, as they are going to go save Gaza all by themselves, which would be very interesting. We have a few updates from our Boulder, Colorado situation, the terrorist attack that happened on Sunday,
Yep.
and a few updates with his family, what he's looking at. Something from Kirsty Noem, who was our Homeland Security Secretary. And we have pretty much the Pride Month doesn't seem to be coming this month or this year, really, or not out in droves as much as before. But before we get into that, we have a little story here that we did cover, and I wanted to give an update on it. Now, this Joey right here, I believe that's the term for it if you're in Australia.
Yeah.
Well, we'll replay this just so all of our viewers know. He was, I don't want it to be that loud. He was denied entrance onto a plane. You can see he looks very well behaved. Looks like he's a service Joey or something like that. He's holding his ticket there. Well, we have some good news. It appears that they have let him board, and they have given him a cup of peanuts. So, that's a little loud. So, he seems to be flying, and seems to be very content and happy with his peanuts. Obviously, this is an AI thing. I'm joking, but I don't know. I saw there was an update to this. I was like, this is a feel-good thing. I kind of want to start with this. Everything the news is always so negative. I'm like, oh, this is so nice. He got on the plane. It's an update. I hope we get a third part when he's landing and we see where he goes. I'd be very interested in that.
I'd like to see his destination. Yeah, tour the world.
Yeah,
Joey.
I don't know if he's traveling on business, if he's going on vacation. I would
Looks like he's in comedy. I don't know.
Well, airline tickets are no joke these days. So, hey, just getting on a plane is something,
Got to get that real ID. I still don't have mine.
Maybe that's what held him up. Maybe I'm sure he doesn't have a real ID either.
It's possible. Yeah. Craziness.
All right. Well, moving on from that, it seems like Pride Month has pretty much been tossed into the garbage. Now, if you'll remember, I think it was last year or the year before that, the White House was all abuzz. They had all the, the naked people were all running around with dildos strapped to them in all sorts of ways. There's trans people were out there showing their tits on the White House lawn and yada, yada, yada. And Biden's kind of walking around like, this is fine because, that's their base. And that's, and I obviously, I don't mean this to disparage queer people, gay people, lesbian people, trans people, bisexual people. I think, but most of society, I think, is tired of the very vocal minority, where it used to be years ago, just 15 years ago, hey, love is love. We just want to live our lives. Okay. And, I think most people, got on board with that. I know, I was always fine with that. I think, hey, love is love. You just want to live your lives. What you do in your bedroom, that's totally your own business. I got nothing to say about it. But I think the fatigue that's setting in around all this pride stuff is because it's just so shoved in everybody's face nowadays. And as who's this guy, Ron Perlman? You can see here, he's not having any of it anymore.
Too many bad negative entities latched onto the pride movement and tried to take advantage of certain things, but especially when those certain entities tried to involve children, obviously.
Well, I think too, it's like obvious
schools and stuff like that.
Well, the boundaries keep getting pushed, and I think everyone, is asking why. Like, okay, you want to do drag, and everyone's like, okay, fine, whatever. But then it's like, well, I want to read to your kids while I'm in drag. It's like, yeah, but okay, but
But
why?
Yeah.
But we all know why. It's like, why don't you ever go re-drag it in old folks' home? Why is it only children? And like I said, this isn't, obviously speaking to everyone in the gay community. I know a lot of people out there actually disagree with it, but there's gonna be some people obviously who aren't so happy about Pride taking a step back, mainly the corporations taking a step back, and I think it's really the Trump effect. But let's get into this video.
Happy Pride Month. In my Target that used to have the Pride section, it's now all USA. Yay.
Oh, jeez. People would be, there's American flags. Oh.
Yeah, it's crazy that that's the response, man. Yay. Like, yeah, I know, your country. Isn't that awesome?
You can't be proud of your country, but you can be proud of who you sleep with.
It's true.
It's an American summer. Except for tourism, because tourism's down because no one wants to come here. USA, woo! And honestly, my dad serves in the military, and I'd love to be really proud of this nation, but it's hard to be proud of it under Donald Trump. But hey, while you're here, pick up a USA bikini. Why not? Yeah, Target's really taken this anti-DEI thing to another level.
I mean, before we get into what this gentleman has to say, because you can already tell from the expression on his face, he's not having any of it either. But it's such a weird response to go into a store. I mean, and I guess I actually reported on this a year or two ago, so I know that, people didn't like it so much. But they're having like tuck bathing suits for children. Now, I could see people getting offended by that. Why are there like tucking bathing suits for young boys? That's weird. That's just a weird thing. I don't think it's weird to be proud of your country. But that's just my take on it. But let's see what this gentleman has to say.
People are insufferable.
Yes.
Oh no, the horror. Target doesn't have a pride section. They have stuff representing our country. And somehow she found a way to complain about it.
Yep.
But then she's got to let you know that, well, hey, my dad served in the military, so I would love to be proud of this country. Yeah, okay. I have a hard time believing that you love your country if you're complaining about the fact that America clothing is up instead of Pride clothing. Like, we're going to prefer Target to have a whole section based on people's sexuality rather than supporting our country. I think Target's doing the right thing. Give credit where it's due. But it's funny that these people who do not like our country try to act like they like our country.
Facts.
Oh no, Target's horrible because they don't have a Pride section. The horror. The level of first world problem that she's not even processing. Hey, our retailer isn't virtue signaling about people's sexuality. Turn the camera off and go sit down.
Yep. And he's right. That's really what all this is. It's not that these corporations really believe in any of this stuff. They can just virtue signal, and they think it's going to get them BlackRock points or brownie points from the woke mob and whatnot. And I think it's really kind of with the Trump effect that people are getting tired of it. It's just not happening. From conservative commentator Matt Walsh. 5 years ago, every major corporation in the country spent the entire month of June shoving LGBT propaganda in our faces. Today, Pride Month is in shambles. This change did not happen by accident. It's the result of a strategic campaign by some of us on the right. This is a real win. We should acknowledge that and celebrate it. And I think, the more you push this stuff down people's throats, the more it's going to really backfire and blow up in your face. It's the Dylan Mulvaney effect. For anyone who does, I'm sure everybody knows what I'm talking about. That like 2 years ago, Bud Light launched a campaign where they had a custom can and put Dylan Mulvaney's face on it and made them like a brand sponsor. Well, today, Bud Light is still not recovered from this. People started boycotting Bud Light. It went from the number 1 beer in America. It's now the number 3 beer in America, and I think the company lost about $30 billion. They fired all their coordinators for campaigns and staff and, everyone who was doing marketing and all that stuff. They got canned. I mean, it was a huge loss. And it's because people don't want this stuff, and like I was saying before, it goes from love is love, love who you want to, do what you want in the comfort of your own home, the comfort of your own bedroom, to now there are naked parades of grown men going down the streets of Seattle or going down the streets of Portland. And it's like, who is this for?
Yeah.
And what's it for? You're exposing yourself to children, and apparently I'm supposed to be okay with it because of how you like to get it in bed. It's crazy. So Benny is also going to comment on this because like I said, a couple years ago, Target was big on the Pride. They came out in droves for the Pride. And now they're not doing it. I think it's the Trump effect. But let's see what Benny Johnson has to say. Shout out to you, Benny.
What's up, guys? It's June 2nd, a couple days into Pride Month. We are here at our local Target in Tampa, Florida, where we went thermonuclear viral last year by exposing the satanic groomer display targeted at children in this location.
And that's the other problem, too, that people have. Why is their Pride stuff marketed towards children? How young do you think this mannequin is supposed to be?
Yeah.
3, 5? How young would this mannequin be? 10?
Yeah.
So why are you marketing sexuality-based things towards kids who really should not be deciding their sexuality until, I don't know, I guess at least until they hit puberty, probably 12, 13 at the earliest. Very odd. This is why people had a problem with it. Not so much, you know, I mean, you could buy, you know, striped shirts or rainbow stuff or whatever. But why is it marketed towards kids? That's another great point.
There was a major backlash at the time, and Target ended up actually removing a lot of these items from their floor in a humiliation for the entire brand. But we're back to check and see what kind of a
Alex Stein, shout out to him.
display they have this year, since so much has changed culturally. Will they still be on the groomer, satanic, gender-bending, trans timeline? Or is Target going to change? We've heard some interesting reports. Let's go find out. You got fireworks. That's a good start. And then, what is this? Right at the front of the store is a...
This is where all the stuff was before.
Yeah.
So it leads me to believe that, you know, these companies, you know, they're doing this for woke brownie points. They're doing it because someone's paying them to do it. They're not doing it because they actually really care about any of this stuff. They just think it's going to be culturally significant. Then they get backlash.
I think it's probably going to be profitable.
I don't
Marketing.
think it.
Well, I mean, somebody obviously had the idea and pitched that, look how much money we're going to make off this idea. It didn't work. But look, that's, you know, somebody pitched that idea like, we'll make money off of this. No, they won't. They didn't.
No, they obviously didn't. And I think the Trump effect is in full swing now.
A Coastal Classics American Summer display featuring this family.
Impressive. Very nice.
This is remarkable. I can't believe it's real. This was where the degenerate groomer display was last year, and now it's been replaced by a father and a son wearing patriotic ensemble. This is
shout out to
crazy.
Keemstar.
Red, white, and blue, Star Spangled Banner.
All right, I'm not going to play the whole thing. We get it, though. We get it.
Yeah.
Basically, even Google, I pulled this up because it's very interesting. It's day one of Pride Month, and this obviously this was a couple days ago. And this is what Google's homepage looks like. Groomers in a total retreat. And I bet I'm gonna just go check it now. If I go look up Google, it's still it is still normal.
Yep.
So we had this breaking. White House confirms that no presidential proclamation is coming for Pride Month in June. Very interesting. Because this is what obviously what over here. This is what the White House looked like during Pride Month last year, you know. Which again, I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, we didn't for Black History Month. We didn't make the pillars black. For Women's History Month, we didn't make the pillars smaller.
Or pink.
No, or pink. That'd be breast cancer awareness.
Oh yeah.
But we didn't do that either. So. You know, all this stupid woke virtue signaling. And I think the Trump effect had a lot to do with it. I think people are just tired of this. They know there's a new top dog, or the old top dog's back in charge. But we got something from Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. A short clip, but we'll play it.
Does the president have any plans on making a proclamation, or is it just going to be June this year?
Well, there are no plans for a proclamation for the month of June, but I can tell you this president is very proud to be a president for all Americans, regardless of race, religion, or creed.
Does the president have any plans on making a...
Which is good. I don't know if I could even pull it up, but like, it's amazing to see how many months are actually devoted to the woke mind virus gender cult. It's like over 100 days on our calendar actually designated to this whole biopic gender cult. Very weird. I mean, they're not really recognized on regular, but there's always a day. It's like, I think 2 years ago, everyone got pissed off because Easter was on Trans Day of Visibility. I don't know. But it
Every
seems...
day is something. It's just weird how every day is a holiday nowadays. I don't know. It's just, I don't
Well,
remember
every
that in
day
my
you can
childhood
celebrate
that every day
something.
was something, but now every day is something.
But there are even people, I don't know who this is, but I saw this tweet. I felt it was relevant. This guy, John James, identifies as a gay man, says, I don't need an entire month of narcissism to celebrate my sexuality. My gay friends feel the same. The only people wanting Pride Month are militant male trans activists who want access to lesbian and women's spaces. It's about time corporates listen to us. Yeah, and there's this whole thing, too. It's like gays against groomers. I think I've mentioned that before.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people are really tired of it because it's like, you know, there are, I mean, there's definitely like two different, well, I'm sure there's a lot of different ones, but two main ones that I'm going to talk about here. It's like the gay people who are like, yeah, we want, you know, to not feel, you know, ashamed or, you know, get persecuted for our sexuality, and we want to just kind of be left alone to do our own thing and love who we love. And then there's these other people who, yeah, I think it is a lot of narcissism, and they're just like, we are going to shove this down your throats. And that's what, you know, I think most people are tired of it, because it gives these people who are just like, I just want to live my life, man. It gives them a bad name. It makes, because everyone lumps them all in together. Yeah, so by association, it's no bueno. So big brands are pulling back on Pride merchandise and events this year. For the last several years, Pride Month was a splashy marketing event for big brands. Stores adorned windows with rainbow flags, displayed LGBTQ-themed t-shirts and coffee mugs at their entrances, changed their logos on social media accounts, and spotlighted donations to LGBTQ rights groups. But this Pride Month, many retail chains and brands are going quiet. Companies are treading lightly, avoiding prominent campaigns and visible public support. 39% say they plan to scale back public Pride Month engagements this year, according to a survey of more than 200 corporate executives by Gravity Research, a risk management advisory. That includes sponsoring Pride events, posting supportive messages of LGBTQ rights on social media, and selling Pride-themed merchandise. And I think it's the whole, you know, like I said, a lot of it's to do with Trump. A lot of it's the 80-20 effect, where 80% of people are either indifferent to this or they really don't like it. And 20% of the people either really like it or they want to be seen as an ally, so they're jumping on top of it. But I just don't think you're going to get the same virtue signal points you would have gotten 5 years ago when this was like in full swing. I think there has been a lot of pushback against this. I think the pushback is good. And, you know, I think, hey, probably, maybe it would have been all right if you weren't going after kids, but all the going after kids, I think, is really what screwed this whole thing up.
That's the line in the sand that everyone's basically drawn to, like, all right, enough's enough. As soon as you involve any type of interactions with children, there's no reason to be teaching sexuality to children.
Well, I would even say like the public indecency stuff. Like, you don't need naked parades going down the street. There's no reason for that at all. You don't need drag queen story hours.
Yes.
You don't need to be taking children to Pride events or drag shows or anything like that. Just like I would never take a child to a strip club. You know, it's just, and you can't take a child to a strip club. Sorry. But you can take them to a drag show. Isn't that odd? And I would say both of those things are wrong. You know, so.
Correct.
But I don't see anybody in the straight community or anyone anywhere pushing, oh, well, why can't my child not go to a strip club? I don't see anybody doing that.
Everyone understands that's indecent, yeah.
Yeah, but somehow if you go to drag queen story hour and you know, that's okay. No, I don't think so. What was I saying? Okay, did I read this?
It's a little disheartening. Hopefully, I'm glad to see a lot of. I know I've read a lot of different articles and whatnot. Basically expressing pushback from communities, especially when it comes to schools. And certain lesson plans that were ixnayed or.
Well, that's another thing too. That you know, there are laws on the books in certain states that like, oh, your child can change their identity and not tell anybody. It's like, and then people are not going to trust public schools. Then people are not going to feel safe with that. I already don't feel safe having my daughter go to school. I really don't.
Certain areas is not good, but thankfully a handful of districts and states are sticking firm to that because it's alarming to say the least. Like you said, yeah. Apparently, there's schools out there that you don't have to notify you if your child wants to change their sex. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How's that a thing?
And like
It
I
is.
said, my school my school called me up the one time, like I told this story already, and they said, yeah, your daughter said if she was the Hulk, she could kill somebody. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And I was like, that's objectively true. And they're like, well, that's not really funny. It's like, it's kind of funny. She's not going to turn into the Hulk, so like, I'm not really worried about it. Are you?
Yeah.
Not exposed to gamma radiation, but anyway.
Yeah.
Many businesses are tightening their advertising spending due to economic uncertainty over Trump's tariffs. That's been disproven. That's not happening. But businesses cited pressure from Trump's administration as primary reason for changing their private approach, according to the survey. No. See, I don't agree with that either. It's just not as popular anymore. It's just not going to get them the woke brownie points they want. Most of the country has rejected it. A lot of members of the LGBTQ community have rejected it. They're like, this is narcissism. You know, and
from
honestly,
a financial standpoint, people were sold that they were going to make money off the movement, and they really didn't. And now that's why it's backtracked so badly.
I'm just and a lot of these things. It's like these parades where people are going naked through the streets. There's like gay men on bicycles, and they're riding down, and their dicks are flapping out and whatnot. It doesn't make the whole of your community look good. And unfortunately,
it really has to do with the finances too. Like it's simply just the finances.
Well, that too. But you know, it just, I don't know. I think there's a lot less tolerance for it now because it's like, you know, we don't want everybody doesn't want to throw it in their faces. A lot of people in the LGBTQ community don't want it constantly thrown in their faces. You're making your whole community look bad by association. Let's skip down here. Oh, Bud Light and Target. I talked about that a little earlier. Advocates for gay, lesbian, and transgender Americans say the Trump administration's opposition makes it harder for businesses to compete, innovate, and attract talent. They also warn that companies risk losing business by downplaying support for their growing number of gay, lesbian, and transgender customers and workers. The portion of American adults who identify as LGBTQ has risen to 9.3% of the population. And I don't know if that's true either. I've never bought like a shirt based off of being straight. You know what I mean?
No, definitely not.
You know, I think there's a lot of you know, I think there are again two types of gay people. There are gay people who just, you know, want to live their lives, and it's just it's a facet of their personality. And there is another vocal minority that makes it their entire identity and their entire personality. You could never get away with not knowing it, and they talk about it all the time. And it's like, yeah, and it's just like people are just tired of it. You know, get a personality, man. By weaponizing federal agencies like the EEOC and the Justice Department to intimidate companies that support LGBTQ plus inclusion, this administration is creating an anti-business, anti-worker atmosphere, said Eric Bloom, the Vice President of Corporate Citizen at the Human Rights Campaign Foundation. I don't think that's happening. I have not seen the White House come out and threaten anybody with doing anything, and you couldn't. I mean, you're a private entity, you're a private business, you can do whatever you want. Many businesses have stopped participating in the Human Rights Campaign scorecard on corporate policy and benefits the LGBTQ community employees due to backlash. Companies that show up only when it's convenient or backtrack the moment there's political pressure risk losing trust and credibility. Well, they were never there for that in the first place. They weren't there. They were there to get woke points, and once it's unpopular, once they see the tide is shifting the other way, they're going to paddle in. They're not going to brave the storm.
1 year later, you know what's on Bud Light's page?
They've been back to like regular branding for like a year and a half now.
Yeah, do you know? I'm saying I'm on their page right now. Do you know what they're currently advertising?
No.
It's just basically get ready for barbecue season.
Yeah, well, that's what they should be focused on.
Yeah, with Post Malone, the one comedian, and then Peyton Manning.
That's what they should be focused on. They should be focused on just selling beer.
What's relevant?
Doing like, you know, commercials of people hanging out in backyards or going like, you know, bringing a cooler to the beach or to the cookout or something like that. Something for the summertime that people would do.
Get ready for
you know, or you know, in the fall they should do the commercials about tailgates and whatnot. You know, Bud Light used to have amazing ads, and you know they destroyed it all.
Why they were number one for such a long time, and also just the history.
Yeah, and they destroyed it all because the woman they put in charge of marketing said, well, we don't want to appeal to these frat bros anymore. We don't want to appeal to these blue collar people. It's like, who do you think buys beer? Don't you think frat bros buy beer?
That's crazy.
You know, nobody buys Bud Light because it's good. They buy it because it's cheap and it gets them drunk. You know why? You have a winning formula.
Just nothing.
Yeah, you have a winning formula, and you're like, I'm just gonna screw it up. Why? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And they're still feeling the effects of this 2 years later, because that Dylan Mulvaney campaign, I believe, came out in April of 2023. It's now July of 2025. Or no, sorry, not July. June of 2025, not July. We're not there yet.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Oh, by July of 2025, they're not going to be. They're still going to be the number 3 beer brand, which is crazy. One bad marketing decision completely killed your brand. And there are some people. I know some people have gone back to it. I know, like Dana White. He's partnered with Bud Light again. He says they stand for American values and whatnot. And a lot of people are, enough time has passed, they're willing to give them a second chance. But there are also people who will never go back. They will say, I will never drink it again.
Absolutely.
You don't really need to. It's not that good. Anyway, we're going to move on. We're going to move on from that topic. And we are getting into now,
Before we do that, make sure you like and share. Let us know what you thought about that topic.
Yep, like, share, subscribe, comment down below. We are going to get into what's going on, an update really with the Boulder, Colorado situation. But first, I wanted to just get a couple melties going on here about how illegal immigration and how the Democrats are still just fuming about illegal immigration, even though, we can literally see the effects of this happening, the radicalization of people. And this is very pertinent because this person, what was his name again? It was
Muhammad something.
Muhammad Solomon. Yeah, Muhammad Solomon. So we can see the effects that this guy was an illegal immigrant. He shouldn't have been here. He's on a visa. It expired. He never left. And then he got radicalized, or maybe he was radicalized before.
Made him leave.
Yep. But, Ana Navarro here, she's a Republican in all of her infinite wisdom. I don't know why she's a Republican, but she says she is, so we'll go with that. That's her truth. So she's going to go off about how everyone's being targeted. You got to leave the illegals alone. And it's just very, very sad for everybody.
The lack of empathy, the lack of humanity, the lack of decency that I am seeing all over the country, with the suffering that Donald Trump and his misadministration are inflicting on people living in this country, our neighbors, our friends, our colleagues.
She's referring to people who are here illegally.
Yep.
The children who go to school with our children. I'm seeing it in South Florida, where I live, where most of our representatives are Republican. And the suffering and fear that the Latino community is undergoing in Miami and South Florida, all over the country.
Why would they be fearful? Unless they're illegally here. Because if you're not illegally here, you're not going to get deported.
The windows of their cars are getting smashed. They're getting dragged through the streets by men in masks who are picking them. Children are being torn from the arms of their mothers. And this is happening, and our Republican congresspeople aren't saying a damn thing because they are more scared of Trump right now than they are scared of losing their seats. And that has got to change because we have no guardrails right now. We have no checks and balances. There is no oversight. If we
I think it's called ICE. I think that's the oversight right now.
want that to change, as you always say, it is on us. And we can change it by making sure that there are Democrats.
Checks and balances.
Well, the problem is there were no checks and balances. When you flood the country with
They're enforcing what needs to be enforced.
When you flood the country with 10, 20 million illegals, in my belief, you do it purposely to try to get a voter base, because that was the next thing they tried to do, was outlaw voter ID laws, because, what did Bill Burr say? What do you think? You think it's easier to take your ID to vote? Lunatics. It's like, it really would be hard to bring your ID with you to vote. I got to bring my ID with me when I drive. I got to bring it with me to get on a plane. I don't know. I carry it in my wallet. It's always with me. I don't know. It must be hard. But if I go to vote, I guess that's too difficult. Lunatics.
Elected next year, so that there is some guardrail and some oversight. Because at the same time that they are dragging Latinos all over the streets of America and treating them worse than we would allow animals to be treated in this country, he's opening up the doors and sending a U.S. taxpayer-funded plane to go pick up white Afrikaners fleeing from a non-existent genocide.
Yep, of course. See, and this is the problem. I think all these people are just fundamentally racist. I really do. I think you're fundamentally racist. I know Ana Navarro here is a Latina. So I obviously I feel for her on that she feels like people who look like her are being
her argument
deported.
is you won't help the illegal immigrants in this country, but you'll help some people that need help in another country.
But you'll help.
How dare you?
You're helping.
How dare you?
You're helping as AOC would say, legal asylees. Yeah, yes, they're legal asylees. They have asylum, so they can be here. These people are here illegally. And they're committing crimes all over the country. And
do you see the difference?
Obviously, Ana Navarro does not see that, because I think everything, for as inclusive as the left is, and I know Ana Navarro doesn't identify with being on the left. She identifies as a Republican, although I don't know why, because nothing she ever says comes across even somewhat conservative.
I feel like they're trying to still latch on to the excuse. Oh, they're taking people that are actual citizens. No, they're not. They're really not. If it has happened in the past, it was an accident, I'm sure, but I don't know if it actually has. Has there actually been proof of it happening?
I don't think so, because the whole
that wasn't supposed to.
With Kilmar Brazier Garcia,
I haven't heard it come out.
Yeah, with Kilmar Brazier Garcia, the whole Maryland man hoax. I mean, he wasn't a Maryland man.
Yeah, that was a hoax.
He was an illegal. He was an MS-13 gang member. Exactly. He was stopped for trafficking. Domestic violence issues
have been taken.
Yep, he was. So I don't know what she's going. But again, it's this whole the people, the 50, 60 people who came over here from South Africa. That's too much, but the 20 million people we let in here and didn't vet. That's the other thing, too. They were vetted. But we're not going to spend too much time on this. We're going to go over here to Muhammad Solomon, the guy who, it says, burned children. I believe that's actually incorrect. I don't think there were any children harmed in Boulder, Colorado.
Again, for some reason, I've seen a couple. I haven't seen any actual evidence of a minor getting hurt.
No, he did.
Even younger than 52.
He burned people, but I think burned children isn't correct. So I want to correct that record, because we want to be as accurate as possible here. But obviously, this guy was an Egypt national. He came here on a visa in 2022. It expired. Never left. And apparently, what they're saying is Mayor Aaron Brockett, who is in charge of Boulder, some people want him held accountable, because Boulder is an asylum city, which means that they will not help ICE at all get these people out of here. But maybe if you did do that, Mayor Brockett, maybe then this wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, we could have avoided.
Maybe we could have avoided this if you would comply with ICE. You think you're doing something virtuous. You think you're doing something good. And I really believe that these people probably think that. But it's like, but then when something happens like this, then who do you blame? Then, I mean, it falls on you. You're in charge. You're the one saying resist ICE.
You're the one making the calls, yeah.
Yep. This is an interesting clip here. Colorado literally fines local law enforcement for helping federal immigration authorities. And then they wonder why situations like the Boulder terror attack happen. This is really interesting here. Oh, hey, it's our friend Jake the Snake Tapper. How are you doing, Jake?
The state of Colorado is doing enough to combat anti-Semitism?
Absolutely not. We are the second most violent state in the country right now. We've actually gotten worse. We were the third most violent state last year. And a huge part of that is because of the sanctuary state laws in Colorado that, again, impose a $50,000 fine on law enforcement, state and local law enforcement, if they try to work with their federal counterparts, and immigration is potentially implicated in that conversation. And
$50,000 fine for local law enforcement for doing their job and working with ICE on a federal level to try to get these people out of here. That's insane.
So, one of the big things we learned from the 9/11 Commission after September 11th is that state, local, and federal law enforcement have to be able to work together to be able to prevent things like this.
Do you?
And who's in charge of that then? It comes down from the top. It's going to come down from that, it's going to come down from the mayor or people in the mayor's office.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's ever seen The Wire, but, and that shows, I don't know. Maybe some people have seen The Wire out there. It's a great show. If you haven't, go watch it. But, the police commissioners are pretty much beholden to what the mayors want to enforce and then what the judges want to prosecute. It's not always about the cops can just get the bad guys. I've seen a lot of videos where cops are very frustrated. They pick up the same guy 6, 7, 8 times. And they're like, why is he still out? And why do the officers have to risk their lives over and over and over to get this guy in another charge, another charge, another charge? Then they're going to go before a judge, and the judge is going to go, oh, let him go. It's crazy. You know, we got to be a little tougher on crime, and we got to be a little tougher on, you know, illegal immigration, and we have to work with ICE to get these people out of here, or the result is going to be more terrorism like we saw in Boulder, Colorado, where Molotovs are being hurled at people. So this is a little bit of an update here. A little more information came out. I thought this was pertinent as well about Mohammed Solomon. And he had 14 unlit Molotov cocktails and a flamethrower, evidently. You know, so he was looking to do a lot of harm.
The charges for the man accused of setting 8 people on fire in that targeted terror attack in Boulder, Colorado. Officials say he's now being charged with a hate crime. That's federally. And this is what they found. They found at least 14 unlit Molotov cocktails on his person, along with that makeshift flamethrower. The Molotovs comprised of glass wine carafe bottles or ball jars containing clear liquid and red rags hanging out of the bottles. He made these himself. In fact, it says that he researched on YouTube how to do this. And later, during an interview with the officials, the suspect stated outright, and he's talking, he stated he wanted to, quote, kill all Zionist people and wished they were all dead. He also stated that he would do it again. Emily, he also said during this interview he specifically targeted the Zionist group that had gathered in Boulder. He knew they planned to meet that day, Sunday at 1 p.m. He arrived at 12:55 and waited for them.
So, I mean, obviously this guy is completely deranged. But, you know, if you go by what the liberals, or she's not a liberal, I'm sorry, but what Ana Navarro says, well, you know, it's unjust to try to treat him like an animal and get him. No, it's not. Get him out of the country. He shouldn't be here. And I just want to make this one point before we move.
He should have been taken out of the country in 2023.
And everyone says,
expired.
Everybody who says, oh, illegal immigrants, they haven't done anything. Yes, they have. They've broken the law because they haven't come into the country the right way. So people say, oh, most of them don't commit crimes. I would argue 100% of them commit crimes. Because 100% of them have not come in the legal way. And you're here illegally, that's a crime. Now, I don't think we should throw them, you know, in cages. I think we should just deport them. Get them out of here. Make sure they don't come back. And then if they come back, then you throw them in jail. Which is still a lot nicer than a lot of other countries would be.
I mean, there are ways to allow them to properly apply to become citizens.
Yeah, you can get a green card, get a visa. You can seek asylum, but I'm sure
there's always those options, and I'm sure that even ICE offers the resource materials as they are deporting the people. Like, hey, so this is the way to actually do it the legal way.
Well, I don't know if they will do that now if they get caught, but
yeah, now it might be different, but I'm sure back they used to actually try and encourage, hey, come here legally.
Well, I think that a lot of this is the fault of the Biden administration by, you know, I think they were trying to import a voter base. I really do. I think that's what they wanted to do. That's why they put all these people up in hotels. They gave them credit cards.
To that way with what laws they were trying to get, and with what actions that they were taking, it really does seem that way. I honestly can see those dots connected.
All right, let's hear from Jesse Waters here because he's got an interesting take on this, and then we're gonna get into a little bit of an update on what we know about.
They could have gotten that extra 10 million votes that they needed.
Yeah, if they don't enforce the voter ID laws, of course. Yeah.
You want to build a wall, you're racist. But doesn't want to make any assumptions when Muslims burn Jews with flamethrowers. The New York Times didn't like calling the terrorist an illegal, so they put illegal in quotes. NBC blamed the...
Yeah, and this is the crazy, like, think piece, you know, like, we got to talk around things, we can't offend anybody. Why should this guy who burned people alive be given any sort of creed or cadence? Why do we have to be sensitive to him? This is the insanity. This is why Trump won. This is the insanity people have to fight back against. Because we still got to consider, oh, well, this poor guy who was here illegally, who was throwing Molotovs at people. Oh, no. What if we offend somebody by calling him an illegal? Like, it's like we're living in some lunatic asylum, which they should start doing that again. They need to open up the asylums again because a lot of people need to start going in them.
The attack on Musk because Musk sells flamethrowers, even though this guy didn't even buy one. He made it in his garage. Over at MSNBC, they called the illegal Egyptian Muslim a white male.
Yeah, we covered that.
There's an individual that's taken into custody. He's a white male. Whether or not that's the person that police ultimately arrested and will ultimately charge in this crime, a bit of a question at this time.
Democrats were most concerned, obviously, with Republicans pouncing.
I believe that you will see Republicans blaming anti-Semitism on the left. I think that you might even see some Democrats parroting Republican talking points.
Why would that possibly be?
I wonder why you would be worried about that.
Who has radicalized people? Who's allowed city? I mean, look at January 6th. Why don't you look at Minneapolis burning during the Summer of Love, during the George Floyd riot? Nobody ever wants to talk about that. They care about a few smashed windows at the Capitol, which is bad. I will say it's bad. And some of the people who went there, most of them were not violent, but some of them I'm sure were, because there's always going to be people like that. But that is nothing compared to all these liberal cities burning down in the Summer of Love. It's it's not even comparable. It was like $2 billion. I think the Minneapolis alone, $2 billion in property damage. A lot of people died. Oh, and yet we got to get gaslit about, you can't use, this guy's radicalized, but please don't use this event to try to point fingers. Don't do that. That makes us feel bad. Why are you targeting us? Oh, I wonder why the Democrats are polling at I think they're at 19% now they're polling. I don't know why.
It's going down and down.
But Democrats were the pouncers. The terrorists used matches and gasoline, so naturally Raskin called for gun control.
We are still in the midst of a gun violence epidemic, so we need to be acting with due concern for human life. I mean, this is why, of course, we have been fighting for a universal violent criminal background check. We are for a ban on military-style assault weapons in the country.
I agree with Raskin here, actually. I think if we want everybody to be safe, let's abolish 2A. Let's take away all the guns, okay? But then what else could be used as a weapon? Fire, obviously, so we should take away everybody's sticks. Take away everybody's matches. Everyone is lighters. We'll get rid of all that. Knives. Well, yeah, we'll do the Keir Starmer solution. Let's take the tops off the knives so you can't poke anything with them. Yeah. We got to do that. Vehicles. You could hit somebody with a vehicle. We got to take those away.
Yeah, no, everyone's got to walk now. Ride a bike.
I mean, if you wanted to, what couldn't be used as a weapon, really? I mean, look around your room.
But the fact that he's trying to go after guns, he's trying to send a message about guns.
That's all they
in an attack that had nothing to do with guns.
That's all they do. They never actually have a point on anything. They just this is their agenda.
And it belittles what is currently happening. Like, you're not even focusing on the actual.
Well, this is their agenda. It doesn't matter what happens.
This is my agenda. So
they're always going to push their agenda, no matter what it is. They're just this is the agenda. We got to push it.
Country, our lax gun laws.
Sorry, I played the clip over you. What did you say?
Can't even talk about the 8 people that got hurt. I talk about.
No, you just go up here, virtue signal, push your agenda. This is what I've been saying all along. Don't you see? Well, how does that make any sense? It doesn't matter if it makes sense. There's no real pushback. Oh, well, he's on MSNBC, so he's never going to get pushback.
Are a danger to everybody.
From the arson at Governor Shapiro's house to the executions in D.C. to this Molotov cocktail hate crime, we're watching the left go crazy. But they can't antagonize the Hamas wing of their party because they need them for political power.
True.
So they distract you with labels and wonder what the motivation could be and pivot to gun control.
Yep.
They aren't honest enough to admit they opened the border to danger. They created an environment with no consequences. BLM rioters bailed out. Antifa, charges dropped. Ivy League agitators not only tolerated, but celebrated. They think they can get away with anything because they have been. But this is all about the change.
Hopefully. I don't know. I don't have the confidence that Jesse Waters has because I've heard, it's going to change, it's going to change. Maybe Trump will change stuff. I know now they want to label like anti-Semitism hate speech and that you could be fined for that, which I strongly, strongly disagree with. Because I think you should be able to speak out against any group or any person you want at any time. However, speaking out against someone is not, because I know a lot of people, like I said, with the whole Israel, Palestine, Gaza thing, and a lot of people are very sensitive to what's happening in Gaza. And Israel has tried to do this gaslighting thing where they're like, we're attacking Hamas. But you're blowing up a lot of people. I get why people are upset about this situation. And you can be, and you can speak out about it, and I don't think that's wrong. But when you're trying to radicalize people, or when you have a speech like, somebody should go do something, well, that's a call to violence right there. So I don't agree with that. or when you're committing violence, that has no place in our society. It really doesn't. We have too much violence, and it's not going to help anybody. It doesn't help your cause. It doesn't help the people you're fighting for. It does nothing but divide us further. So here we got, let's see here. Kirsty Noem, she is the Secretary of Homeland Security. And this is her take on Mohammed Solomon. And, you know, this is in her vein because she's working very closely with ICE. Before we get into the article about Mohammed Solomon's wife and 5 children.
Hi, everyone. I'm Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem.
Hi, Kristi.
Today, the Department of Homeland Security and ICE are taking the family of suspected Boulder, Colorado terrorist and the illegal alien Mohammed Solomon into ICE custody. Now, Mohammed's despicable actions will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But we're also investigating to what extent his family knew about this horrific attack, if they had any knowledge of it, or if they provided support to it. I am continuing to pray for the victims of this attack and for all of their families. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to all of them, and I want them to know that justice will be served.
Feel bad for the, I mean, I would, we don't know this for sure, but I would imagine his wife and his 5 kids are also here illegally. If he just came over on a visa in 2022, I imagine they would have as well. I don't know that for fact.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate. I don't know one way or another, but odds are.
Odds are, but it's like, but imagine that too. It's like you have a wife and 5 kids, and your major concern is I'm going to bring Molotovs to a rally and start throwing them around at people. Not even voiding your own life, but I mean, obviously, completely screwing over your entire family as well. Lunatics, as Bill Burr would say. We got this article, and then we're going to move on from this. Then we got a very interesting story about Maxine Waters, but I'm just going to go through this really quick. Colorado terror attack suspect Mohammed Sabri Solomon's wife and 5 children detained by ICE face expedited deportation. The wife and all 5 children of Colorado terror suspect Mohammed Sabri Solomon have been arrested by federal immigration agents and will be swiftly deported, sources told the Post. Okay, so they probably are illegal. Yeah. Solomon, 45, an Egyptian national who is accused of injuring 12 people with a homemade flamethrower and Molotov cocktails during an anti-Semitic attack in Boulder, was living in the U.S. illegally for 2 months after his legal status expired on March 28th. Following his arrest on Sunday, ICE and Homeland Security investigation agents have taken his family into federal custody, Department of Homeland Security official told the Post. Mohammed's despicable actions will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, but we're also investigating to what extent his family knew about this horrific attack, if they had knowledge of it, or if they provided support for it, which we just actually heard from Kristi Noem. Just heard that. Yeah. Solomon's family, who were stripped of their visa status, are currently being held at a Dilley detention facility in southern Texas, sources told the Post. Officials intend to deport the family using expedited removal. Solomon, 45, arrived in the U.S. in August of 2022 on a tourist visa that permitted him to stay in the country until February of 2023.
So it sounds like they actually had visas, but it was stripped to them due to the circumstances. Which that's obviously within the laws. Yeah.
He then filed for, it could be. He then filed for work authorization that granted him legal status until March of this year. His asylum request was still pending at the time of the attack. Solomon allegedly told again, okay, well, yeah, and he could have been granted asylum too, I guess. I don't know why you would need asylum from Egypt, but, I mean, you could. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Egypt, so I have no idea about that. Solomon allegedly told police he waited until his daughter graduated high school to carry out the attack. Wow, what a dad of the year right there. He penned messages to his wife and child's 5 children and hid them in a desk drawer before carrying out the attack 100 miles away from his Colorado Springs home, police said. The suspect allegedly told police he hated the Jews, Jewish people, and wanted to kill all Zionist people as he targeted participants of the Run for Their Lives event. And this is another thing, too. You know, I don't like this thing that Jews are always conflated with being Zionists. Not every Jewish person is a Zionist.
Yeah, no.
So
that is absolutely true.
I don't know, but this whole Free Palestine movement is trying to lump everybody in this one. It's like, again, no. There are a lot of Jewish people who I think are very critical of the state of Israel and Zionism as a whole, and you know, so yeah, just want to make the distinction. As he targeted participants of the Run for Their Lives event, which was organized to show solidarity for the Israeli hostages in Gaza. Solomon reportedly shouted "Free Palestine" as he sprayed members of the group with 87 octane gasoline from a garden hose he had fashioned into a makeshift flamethrower. All of the 12 people injured, 8 victims, 4 men and 4 women between the ages of 52 and 88 were transported to nearby hospitals for treatment. Solomon remains in custody and is in charge with federal hate crimes and 16 counts of attempted first-degree murder. He faces up to 624 years behind bars if convicted. I always hate they do that. 624 years. It's like...
You know what? It says 12 people total, but they counted 8 as the 52 of 88. So I wonder if maybe the other 4 might have been children. Maybe there were children.
Nothing. I haven't seen any children. Not from the reports I've seen. I think they probably would have identified children.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know why they're only listing the ages of 8 of them, but maybe.
12.
Well, that's our update with that. I hope this guy rots in prison.
And not for nothing, his family. Obviously, it is understandable that even if they did have visas, they were revoked, considering the situation.
Oh yeah,
that's kind of the stipulations you.
Oh, it's going to be revoked now for sure.
Country, yeah, if we had done that in another country and an American citizen was there with his family, every one of them would lose their visa, 110%, no matter what country it was.
These people on visas, then they can get away with whatever they want. You can't. It's like, you're in our country, you're a guest. You should be respectful. You shouldn't be going to the college campuses and protesting about how bad America is or free Palestine. I get, it might be something close to your heart. It might be something you really do think is right. And, I feel bad for the Palestinian people whose homes are getting leveled in Gaza. I do. But it's like, what's the best course of action that I can do about it? It's like, I don't think blocking off a college campus, I don't think attacking people is going to do anything. It's not going to rally people to your cause. And actually, we have a little bit of a story on that later about our freedom fighter, Greta Thunberg. But first, before we do that, we have an interesting clip about Maxine Waters. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, hold on. But before we do that,
like and subscribe.
Comment on the video. So Maxine Waters here is one of the oldest members of Congress. She's a representative from, from California. I forget the district. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She's in her 18th term. Her 18th term. She's been in since the early 90s. She's been in Congress since before I was born. For House of Representatives, 2 years. Yeah.
That's insane.
But she's on her 18th terms, which makes sense. I think she got in the early 90s. So she spent, that would add up. But Maxine Waters, obviously, she's been very critical of Trump. She's very against the Republican corruption, but it seems the chickens have come home to roost because, Maxine Waters here, who lives in a $4.6 million mansion, was a net worth of $5.3 million. Paid her daughter $100K a year she's paid her daughter $100K a year for 10 years, I believe, in some form of, she was working on her campaign. It's got to be really nice. It's like the BLM people. She's also a big supporter of BLM, which obviously, we know BLM. Yeah, well, we know BLM was, a scam. Patrisse Cullors, she paid out literally every single person in her family gobs and gobs of money, that they never seen before, and then they retired from the organization after they bought a bunch of houses. That's what BLM really stands for, is buy large mansions. This isn't about Patrisse Cullors. This is about Maxine Waters here and how she's going to explain to you about how evil Trump and the Republicans are.
The majority are basically whites in this country.
Oh, those damn dirty white people.
Willing to accept a dishonorable human being, someone who has been convicted of 34 felonies, someone who has been openly and brazenly racist.
All right, 2 things right there I'm going to push back on. One, these 34 felony counts against Trump are complete bogus. They cooked the books so they could do that. They convicted him of some type of finance thing or whatever, which is ironic now because of what Maxine is. But we all know that Biden DOJ was completely weaponized to go after Donald Trump. There have never been any precedents for this before. There won't be any precedents for it again. Everything they brought against Trump was literally just to try to take him down and put him in jail so he couldn't be president. And yet it all backfired. All it did was make him stronger.
Mm-hmm. Someone who has, talked about his love for Putin and Kim Jong-un and made some statements favorable to Hitler.
Yeah, meeting with world leaders is a really terrible thing, you know.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? As far as Trump being racist, I don't know. People keep saying that. I don't really see it. In fact, he was pretty loved by a lot of people. Have you ever seen him on Oprah? Back in like the late 80s or something? She asked to be his running mate if he ran for president. But then he ran as a Republican, and it all went downhill. Sorry, let's continue.
It doesn't matter.
This is all why you don't like him, but why has America voted for him?
Racism is the basic
Yes.
point. People don't like to talk
Yes.
about racism, but the fact of the matter is the majority of his votes are going to come from whites. And that's who has been talking to all campaign about taking the country back. Taking it back from whom? Taking it back from too many minorities who are doing
76, what was it? 76, 78 million people are racist.
doing too well, who are succeeding, who are closing the wealth gap. And something has to be done in his estimation. And so that's what it's really all about. It's not about the economy and all that, people would like to basically hide behind.
This is why you lose. It's not about anything that anybody says. It's not about illegal immigration. It's not about the economy.
It's not about policies.
Not
It has
about
nothing
the
to do with
policies of border. It's not about none of that. It's about
It has nothing to do
racism.
with your problems.
Yeah.
It's about racism.
The only thing I think in Trump's entire campaign that wasn't really about anything was, I think, the Democratic Party stupidly made Trump into a martyr. I really believe that. They made him into a martyr by weaponizing the Department of Justice against him. And when you do something like that, people, I don't care what color or what creed you are, people don't like to see people get railroaded. They don't like to see people get bullied. They just
And
don't.
especially as obvious as the way that they did it. Yeah, it's just...
It makes people,
And they proudly talk about it all the time. Oh, he's a convicted felon. You guys bring back the silliest thing to really try and stand on.
Well,
And
Trump...
it doesn't stand on it.
Well, it's not even about race because, I mean, obviously, she didn't know at the time because this is from, 153 to 211, so I'm guessing this is election night.
Yeah.
But Trump did better with Latino voters. He did better with black men. He did better with the younger generation. I think, better than any Republican has done. Maybe outside, probably better than George Bush. I don't know. I don't have the statistics in front of me. So all of these people, and also Kamala Harris was just a bad candidate. She sucked. She didn't run on anything.
It's about white versus other.
Just a quick reminder in between this rage, guys. Don't forget
Jake
to like the
Rattlesnake.
video if you haven't already. It does help.
I don't know if you ever watched this guy's videos, but Jake Rattlesnake is yeah, he's really good with this stuff. I watch his YouTube channel. Shout out to you, Jake Rattlesnake.
Let's get back to it.
But it's looking possible tonight that Donald Trump has won the popular vote. Are you saying that the majority of Americans are racist?
Yes, she is.
I'm saying the majority of the Americans will buy into anything as long as they believe that somehow they will have more advantage. They will have more ownership.
Everybody would buy into that if you're going to give them an advantage. Who wouldn't do that? Hey, vote for me. I'll close the border. Vote for me.
Make the country great again.
Yeah, I'll make the country
I'll
great
do
again.
stuff good for the country, not for someone else.
That's the problem. It's like
Crazy policy.
it's a crazy concept that if I mean, every politician does it. Everyone except Kamala Harris. She didn't make any campaign promises.
That they don't have to worry about others who will be equal to them. You can call it what you want, but that's the way it is.
Oh my God.
It looks
He's been elected 18 times, by the way, folks. 18 times.
Congressman Walters as if he's expanded his base to include more black voters, more Latino voters, more people of color this time round. I mean, not more than Harris, but more than last time round. Doesn't that fight your theory?
Yep.
Well, I don't know. We've got to wait and see. I don't know what the expansion is. There may be some expansion in the Latino community, but
And
all
the
this
black community.
talk about getting black votes, I don't think It's true.
Well, you're wrong. All right, so that's Maxine Waters, 18 times elected California representative who's totally Trump deranged, has no idea why her party is losing, who is the arbiter of truth. She would never steal campaign money.
At least she's a woman of her word.
Except she did, because the FEC investigation finds Representative Maxine Waters' campaign guilty of violating multiple election laws, ordered to pay $68,000 restitution. See, Gunther Eagleman down here, shout out to him. She should be removed from Congress.
I thought the Republicans were the corruption.
Well, I think all politicians, I think they all skim money. I think they're all corrupt. But
all pockets are lined.
It's just, these people in glass houses are always the one to throw stones, and then they hide their hands. Really quite interesting. Maxine Waters here is with Sam Bankman-Fried, who, if you don't know, he was he founded that, what was it? FTX cryptocurrency. Ran a Ponzi scheme. He's in jail for 25 years. Now, why is he relevant? Well, because he didn't get caught for such a long time because he was one of the Democrats' biggest donors. I would highly doubt if he met Maxine Waters and didn't give her a nice slice of that pie. Now, Maxine, when you found out that Sam Bankman-Fried ran a Ponzi scheme and stole a lot of money from a lot of people, even though I'm sure he donated to your campaign, did you give the money back? I guarantee you didn't give the money back, Maxine.
She's an honest person.
She is a very honest person. We're going to hear from this guy right here. Let's see. The very thing Maxine Waters has been complaining that Elon Musk and Donald Trump have done, Maxine was actually caught doing.
Yeah.
Everything they say, it's all projection with the Democrats. Everything they say, everything they put out there,
what I would do
is something
in their situation.
They're really doing themselves.
That's basically what it is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this right here is a woman by the name of Maxine Waters, which is an appropriate name for somebody who was likely around when God created water. Now,
true.
Here's the thing about Maxine.
Maxine Waters is one of the oldest sitting people in Congress. She is, I think, she was born in 1938, so she's got to be 82, 83 at least. So she's quite up there.
38. She is.
Yeah,
87.
87. Really?
I think so. Something like that.
Let me pull out my calculator real quick because now I'm interested. Jeez, I should be able to do math on the fly, but I can't. Minus 1938. Oh yeah, you're right. 87.
Holy shit! Yeah.
Is that correct? Is she? Hold on, I'll look it up real quick.
87. That's.
Hold on. I'm sorry, everybody. I think I saw that right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. 87. Or 86, depending. She was born on the 15th, so depending on. So 86, but yeah. That's crazy, and you're still in Congress. You're gonna be like Dianne Feinstein, and you're gonna end up. Dianne Feinstein
an election apparently.
Dianne Feinstein, if anybody doesn't know, she died in an office. Nobody even knew she died for a couple months. She was like in an old folks home or something. It's like, these people are too old. It's like but they don't want to give up their power.
She has been protesting.
They don't want to give up
our
that
guy
paycheck.
DJT.
Well, her paycheck is only supposed to be like $100,000 or something like that. But yet,
she pays her daughter $100,000 a year.
Or no, maybe it's more than that because she is a representative. Maybe it's $220. I think it's $220 for representatives.
Either way, it's not Mills.
No, it's not
millions
Mills.
like her net worth.
45, 47 for the last 8 years, really, right? Since he was president, then he was not president, allegedly, and then he was president again. She has been looking for ways to slander the man and to essentially sabotage his agenda through her magical, ancient powers in Congress. Now, here's the thing with Maxine.
She's
what Maxine
old.
did not understand is that the moment she went against the American people, she indeed activated the law of FAFO. And now, Maxine Waters, the ancient one, will be facing her own trials and tribulations. You see, Maxine will have to pay upwards to $68,000 after a lawsuit claiming that she was cooking the books. That's right, folks. She lied about money that was coming into her campaign.
Oh, that is very ironic, isn't it? Because what did Trump get convicted of the 34 felony counts for? Wasn't it him cooking his books? Isn't that what they said?
That's just what they accused him of, yeah.
Well, that's what they accused him of. Well, that's what the New York court found him guilty of, because that was a very fair and balanced place for a Republican president to go and do some stupid thing about, I don't know, cooking the books.
She was misappropriating funds. She was doing the very thing that she has been claiming that DJT and Elon were doing, which is robbing the American people. Oh, no, sis.
Oh.
This ain't the 1500s. We've caught up with your ways.
Yep. Very, very ironic. Let's see. Maxine.
Hopefully she's lost her sitting position as well. I haven't seen any mention of that, but I would hope so.
No, she's not going to do that, though. She'll never give up that position.
How can you still have it if you've been proven that you're stealing money from the position?
Because she'll claim racism or something like that, and people in California in her district will still vote for her. That's why. It'll be some excuse. This was a witch. It'll be the same thing. It'll be the same thing Trump said. It was a witch hunt. It was a witch hunt. It was politically motivated. The Trump Justice Department came after me. It's gonna be Maxine Waters is a criminal. George Santos was expelled. And this is a good point. Yeah, George Santos was expelled from Congress before he was ever convicted of anything. However, people who are convicted of stuff can obviously stay. Let's see here. Penalty $68K fine, exceeding campaign finance limit by $20K. Penalty 8 months overnight incarceration in confinement center, $25K fine. Mandatory psychiatric counseling, 5 years probation, equal justice, which is not going to happen for her, obviously. Well, let's read up here before we get to our final story. Miss Greta Thunberg. Maxine Waters' campaign to pay $68,000 fine after FEC probe. Let's see. This is a short article here, but that's fine. Representative Maxine Waters' campaign committee has agreed to pay $68,000 fine after an FEC investigation found that her election campaign violated multiple finance laws. The California Democrats 2020 Campaign Committee, Citizens for Waters, was found to have accepted campaign donations totaling $19,000 from 7 donors in 2019 and 2020, despite the maximum legal contribution from a single individual in California being capped at $2,800. In documents filed by the FEC, Waters is accused of failing to accurately report receipts and disbursements in calendar year 2020, knowingly accepting extensive contributions, and making prohibited cash disbursements. Open Secrets reported that Waters' campaign accepted the charges and agreed to pay the $68,000 fine, as well as promising to send its treasurer to a commission-sponsored training program for political committees within 1 year of the effective date of this agreement. The campaign maintains that the financial violations were errors that were not willful or purposeful. Open Secrets reports Waters, 86, there we go. If we got to the end of this, we would have known that. 86 has served in Congress since 1991. Sorry, I did a little bit of looking up for nothing, but like I said, now this is like a drop in the bucket to what I think a lot of these politicians do. It's
$68,000 is nothing. It's a slap in the wrist.
Well, and especially you're taking campaign funds. You're taking too much money. They all do that. They all are beholden to their donors. They all sell out the American people. They don't actually represent anything they're supposed to. It's just the whole irony of her going so hard after Trump and saying he's a criminal, he's unfit. When, even if we were to believe the trumped up charges against Donald Trump, you were doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there will be an excuse. Oh, man. Alrighty. That's enough on Maxine Waters.
What else is new? Another corrupt politician taking money from the taxpayers.
Yep.
Well, let us know what you thought about that segment. Like, share, subscribe.
Alrighty, so our last thing, which isn't really news, or it isn't news. It's kind of news. It's not really news as of yet, but I found it interesting. I probably should have put this right after that Muhammad Solomon thing with the Boulder, Colorado. But if you don't know, which I'm sure you do, this is Greta Thunberg, who was about 5 years ago a very big climate activist. She was refusing to go to school until the climate was saved. So I would guess she's probably not that educated because I don't think she's been to school since she was like 12.
Yeah.
So this is 15, and this is obviously a post that's very positive for her. The climate strike, and as I said, I don't know, when did we do the story on Hawaii? Was that on Monday or was that last Friday? I can't remember.
I want to say Friday.
Yeah, I think it probably was Friday. Anyway, yeah, I think I mentioned during that, I don't really believe in climate change. I don't think we have enough information really to assess the climate for what, we've been studying it for like 100, 150 years. The Earth has been around for 4.6 billion years. We know we go through periods of heating and cooling. I'm not an expert, but I've seen coastline pictures, and they don't look like they're, they don't really look like they're receding to me. But, you know, what do I know? Anyway, Greta Thunberg was, you know, very big. She was a little kid back then. I think she was, you know, she addressed Congress, I think, when she was 16 years old, speaking about, oh, I wish I had that clip. You stole my childhood. My childhood has been stolen. How dare you? How dare you? So, that's my Greta impression. And, you know, back then the left loved her. Now the left doesn't, they're not so sure about her anymore, because now she's picked a side with Israel versus Palestine, and she's going on like a vacation to try to break the siege up in Gaza. Or in Israel.
I'm not gonna lie, I knew her message, I knew what she was all about. I never actually watched her address to Congress about what you just said. It's funny.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, she went before Congress and all that. They're just pretty hilarious. What it seems, she's also got a very famous tweet that says, "If we don't, the world will be destroyed in 5 years," and I think that was about 7 years ago. So.
Yeah, sounds accurate.
Anyway, she's not really doing the climate change thing anymore. Apparently, the climate can wait. Now she is going to try to break the siege around Gaza. And obviously, this has got the left very divided. The pro-Israel people are really not about this. The pro-Palestinian people now think she's a hero because she's going to go and liberate Gaza. And there's the other group, which is me, sitting over here and be like, this is going to do absolutely nothing except possibly get her captured by extremists.
Yeah, they are not gonna.
This isn't going to do anything. You know, this is just
the lightest thing.
This is just
Nobody cares what
it's just virtue signaling. There is no point to doing any of this. Well, I don't know if she even cares that much. I think she just wants headlines. It's like, I think you just want to be in the news. And now the climate change isn't the big thing to talk about anymore. Oh, what's the next big thing? Oh, it's Israel-Palestine. Oh, let's talk about that. Let's pick a side with that. Let's try to do something with that. I mean, it's crazy. You live this whole life of privilege. I mean, like, Greta Thunberg and a handful of other privileged activists are sailing to Gaza on a tiny boat to deliver aid. At best, they've got enough supplies for maybe a dozen people. It's not humanitarian. It's the most pathetic performative stunt imaginable. I agree with that. Yeah, this is the boat they're sailing on. How many supplies could they possibly be taking to Gaza?
Don't call yourself delivering aid. Don't call yourself
I'm sorry about that.
Don't call yourself anything positive when that's what you're doing. Like you're making a joke of the situation now.
Well, she's grabbing headlines is what she's doing because people are talking about it, and that's what we're doing. But yeah, it's very performative. It's very stupid. This is obviously it's her. Like I said, she's with the Game of Thrones actor Liam Cunningham, who played Sir Davos Seaworth. So Sir Davos Seaworth is probably a good person to take on a boat with you. He was a pretty experienced shipwright in that story, although he was missing some of his fingers. But again, neither here nor there. But what is this going to do? Really? Completely performative. It's completely stupid. And there are a lot of people calling this out. Greta Thunberg's so-called Freedom Flotilla encapsulates the delusion of hypocrisy surrounding the Israel-Gaza war. This isn't a humanitarian mission. It's a Mediterranean leisure cruise. Participants are smiling, swimming, and filming TikTok videos. This is self-serving activism. And let's be honest, she wouldn't dare try this stunt anywhere near Hamas-controlled waters. She knows she's safe because Israel has Hamas on the ropes. That's what makes this spectacle possible. It's not activism, it's performance, and it's pathetic. So, and if you watch some of these clips here, I don't know if they're swimming in the sea, probably in the Adriatic somewhere, yelling "Free Palestine." Like, obviously,
just making a little cruise out of it.
Yeah, exactly. It really looks like these guys are doing something, right? This is go back right there. That was Liam Cunningham. He's the Game of Thrones guy. I don't know what this. I guess this doesn't have any volume to it. This is okay. But yeah, it looks like they're on a leisure cruise. That's what it looks like. And this is let me go back real quick. This is their boat. How many supplies could?
Do they even have supplies on there?
Well, they have to have. I don't know if they'd have enough. I mean, apparently there's about a dozen people on here. I'm sure they have.
Looks like they'd have enough for like the trip, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Unless they're resupplying or whatnot somewhere along the way. But yeah, this is very performative. It doesn't look like these people are crusade. It looks like they're all just rich activists who are having a good time. They're playing at something, which is really all Greta Thunberg has ever done. I don't really blame Greta personally, because I think Greta has been radicalized from. Well, she's been radicalized from a young age. Like she was convinced of this by her parents, and she got a huge platform for being this big climate crusader. But when you have a 16-year-old going in front of Congress and lecturing people about things that they don't possibly understand, one, that's stupid. Two, you're going to divide the world against them. And three, it's going to give them a huge sense of self and a huge inflated ego that they don't deserve in any way. What did she do? She said, I'm not going to go to... She said, I'm not going to go to school.
The next platform. That's it.
And I'm not going to go to school.
The next platform to stand on.
That was her big stance. I'm not going to school. I will stand here with a sign.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's just looking for the next big story for her to stand on a platform and wave a flag to.
If I did that, CPS would be at my door and be like, we want to take your kid because your kid's not in school. But if she, I guess, that's the advantage of having rich parents, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. And not having to worry about reality.
Yeah, no, she doesn't have to worry about reality at all. She'll be taking care of the rest of her life no matter what, so she can spend her life doing whatever she wants, and apparently this is what she wants to do. So we're going to hear a little bit about Greta Thunberg here. She does an interview on board the Freedom Flotilla. Flotilla, that's a ship heading to Gaza. Thunberg accused Israel of decades and decades of systemic oppression, ethnic cleansing, and occupation. She's claiming she'll break the siege by landing in Gaza. She's made no mention of the 58 hostages held captive for over 600 days in Gaza. No, of course she wouldn't. Turn this down a little bit. Let's hear from Greta herself aboard her luxury cruise.
We cannot just sit by and allow this to happen. We are watching, all of us on our phones are watching a genocide happening, following decades and decades of systematic oppression, ethnic cleansing, occupation, and we are just human beings very concerned about what's happening and do not accept what is going on. So therefore we have promised ourselves and we have promised the Palestinian people to do everything we can.
And you doing everything you can is taking this little boat to try to break this siege up. That's what you're doing. You're not doing anything. You're doing this for activism brownie points. Now, listen, I do have a lot of sympathy for the people in Gaza. I think they're unfortunately stuck in between this thing between Israel and Hamas. And I think Israel has taken it to an extreme where they're just like, we're going to level Gaza. I can see why that would upset a lot of people. I get it. But this is doing absolutely nothing. This is making a mockery of the entire cause. You're not going to save anybody by going here. You're not going to liberate a people. You're doing it for woke brownie points so you can get your name in the news. Or maybe so you could feel a little good about yourself. But you're not doing it for them.
And if this is something that we can do, if we
attempt at making any type of positive impact during this situation, it's an egotistical attempt. Yeah, it's for self-clout.
For example, for me personally, if I, for example, have a platform or something, then I have to use that in times of injustice.
What happened to climate change? What about the climate? Nobody cares about the climate anymore.
We all have a responsibility to do something, and we are trying to do that and step up when our governments are failing to step up, and on the contrary, are complicit and are supporting and enabling this genocide to go on. We cannot just...
Listen, I'll be the first to say I don't like how, how America is so tight with Israel. They kind of look the other way. I'm not for the leveling of Gaza. I think there are thousands of Palestinians who have been killed in these attacks. And, obviously I do feel for them, but this is not, you're not doing anything here. You're doing this. So this comes out, I think this was just last night, actually. We are in danger. We need your help. Please send help. Greta Thunberg stuck on a boat under potential attack from drones as they sail to free Gaza is about to be as believable as Katy Perry going into space. She can't even speak. Yeah, she looks, and you can see right here as she's going to plead for help because there are apparently Israeli drones flying over her. She looks very concerned, doesn't she?
Yeah.
We are reporting here from the Madeleine. We are right now at 80 kilometers from Greek lands and 68 kilometers from Greek territorial waters. What happened is that we just spotted a drone and we confirmed it is a drone, but we just lost visual with it. they could have either turned back or turned off the lights. We have our safety procedures here, and it demands us to go get all of our life jackets. We prepare to alert level at the maximum, especially if it's approaching us, and we sound the alarm for you. Now we count on all of you to share what's going on here and to please let the world know that we are 80 kilometers from Greece and we need your help. That's it.
Well,
need the help for what though? Nothing's happening.
Because they're worried there's an Israeli drone. One, I mean, let's play devil's advocate here. How do you know it's an Israeli drone? Two, it could be an Israeli drone because you've announced.
Even if it is, so what? You're in their territory.
You've been, well, apparently they're by Greece, which is kind of close.
You're
to
in the
Israel,
surrounding territory.
You're in the surrounding territory, or they're by Greece, but
and they're apparently in the middle of military activities. So yeah, no way they're actually doing scouting. I would never have expected Israel.
It's almost like announcing this pleasure cruise to the entire world that you're going to do this and doing headlines about it for weeks and months, and then going off and doing it, and then posting exactly where you are every single day is not really a good idea. It's almost like there's there is something very serious in the Middle East going on, and they probably don't want you sticking your nose in it. I don't know.
And you took light of the situation, and now you're like, holy shit, this is real.
If any of this is even true, we have no video. There is no video footage of the drone. This could all be made up. I mean, they seem to be having a good time a couple days ago. They're swimming in the sea and whatnot. I don't know. I think that's I don't know. It's the Mediterranean or the Adriatic or something like that. But yeah, they seem like they're having a good time. And now there's apparently a drone sighting, which obviously they didn't see. The Greta boat stunt reeks of stage activism to distract from, let me read this, from real issues in Gaza and the broader Middle East. Using dramatic props and vague danger calls doesn't help those suffering. It just fuels media hype. Meanwhile, real voices, especially from Trump supporters and those on the ground, are sidelined while these theater acts get all the attention. I would agree with that. I'm not going to read that, not going to read that, not going to read that. And a lot of people just don't like Greta, too. So.
Yeah.
But here's what's going on so far. Well, actually, this was a little before that. Climate activist Greta Thunberg and Game of Thrones actor Liam Cunningham joined aid ship sailing to Gaza. Climate campaigner Greta Thunberg and 11 other activists set sail for the Gaza Strip on Sunday afternoon aboard a ship carrying aid. And again, it doesn't, like, with the size of that ship.
What's the aid?
I don't really see. What do you got? Like a crate? Do you have a crate or two? I don't know what you're really doing.
A case of Twinkies? Like what? What are we doing?
Maybe, I mean, you might be able to fit like a lot of spam, or I don't know. The mission is aimed at breaking Israel's siege of the devastated territory, organizers claim. Game of Thrones actor Liam Cunningham and Rima Hassan, a French member of the European Parliament who's of Palestinian descent, are also among the crew. Hassan has been barred from entering Israel due to her active opposition to the Israeli assault on Gaza. Well, that's good that she's going to it. The sailing boat Madeleine, operated by activist group Freedom Flotilla Coalition, departed from the Sicilian port of Catania in southern Italy. Madeleine sails to Gaza today with 12 humanitarians and as much life-saving aid as she can carry, including baby formula, medical supplies, and more. She departs from European territorial waters, sailing entirely through international waters into Palestinian waters off Gaza. The coalition wrote in a social media post Sunday. Unarmed and non-violent, Madeleine poses no threat. She sails in full accordance with international law. Any attack or interference will be a deliberate unlawful assault on civilians. Yeah. Why don't you? Yeah, Israel's never attacked a ship before that it wasn't supposed to. You ever hear the USS Liberty?
I mean, it's stated very well and known. Hey, we're actively in military procedures in this area. Don't come over here. And you come over there. What do you think is gonna happen?
Well, I guess they're hoping, hoping for the best.
They're trying to hope that they don't get attacked, but like, this area is taken over. Why are you coming over here? I understand you're trying to help certain stuff. You need to set up camp, not where it's an active military procedures. I'll call it, whatever's going on over there. Maneuvers, acts.
I'm just saying, I know what happened to the USS Liberty.
Why would you go right into the heart of it and expect any different?
I know what happened to the USS Liberty. I'm gonna leave that there. I know what happened. As the crew tries to reach the shores of Gaza, they hope their trip will raise international awareness. It's not going to. You're just making fools of yourself over the ongoing humanitarian crisis. Do you think anybody in the world is not aware that there's a war going on between Israel and Hamas, and Gaza is caught in the middle of it? I don't think there's anybody who is not heard of it. I mean, it's been going on
By
since
this point now.
October 7th was like, I mean, not even really the launching point, because it's been going on before then. It's been going on since 1948. October
This
7th.
has been a decades battle. I mean,
Yeah.
they've been fighting for decades at this point. This is just the most recent important event in the conflict.
Quote, we are doing this because no matter what odds we are against, we have to keep trying, unquote, Thunberg said, bursting into tears during her speech. Because the moment we stop trying is when we lose our humanity. And no matter how dangerous this mission is, it's not even near as dangerous as the silence of the entire world in the face of the live stream genocide. I don't know if anybody's being silent about this. This is all very performative. Even I don't like Greta Thunberg. I think, she's an activist hack. She does everything for, again, media attention. I think, honestly, that's somewhat, her fault maybe now as an adult, but a lot of it's her parents who kind of pushed this on her, and she got a lot of attention from it. But this isn't going to break any, this isn't going to do anything. You're not going to bring awareness to Gaza. Everyone's already aware of it. You're not going to help anybody. And I just hope, you stay safe and you don't get yourself killed.
Yeah.
Because, that's always possible going into an active war
Absolutely.
zone. So hopefully.
If you take light of this situation, you 110% or one of your colleagues on your sailboat will learn the hard way that there is no retry button. There is no redo.
And again, look, this is the ship. I can't see it carrying all that many supplies.
And they're saying necessities like formula and something. Are you talking about literally like one package of each thing? Because again, just on square footage, I don't see the.
I mean, they could have
being that
crates,
much.
but how many crates could possibly be in the hull of the ship?
That's what I'm saying. Like
Not very many.
that would be enough for what, 10 people maybe?
I have no idea. But I mean, even if maybe you can sustain people. Maybe if you had a lot of stuff, maybe you could sustain. I don't know. I really don't know, because they haven't specified that at all. But I think this is all very performative,
Looks like
and
they would barely be able to sustain themselves.
Yeah.
With what's on the boat.
It's all very performative, and hopefully they don't. Hopefully no harm comes to them. But I really think this is just kind of dumb. Alrighty, well, that will be that is our show for today.
Oh man,
a lot of stuff to get through.
Excuse me.
Took a little longer than I thought, but all right.
It was a good show. Obviously the topics of the times are the topics of the times. Some are more entertaining than others, or flashier. Greta Thunberg, yay! At least we're not talking about climate change.
Yeah, I guess at least we're not talking about climate change. All right, well, that'll be
Make
our
sure
show.
to let us know, like, share, subscribe. Let us know what you thought about all our segments today.
And we will catch you. We will be back on Friday.
Sounds good. See you then.